1 a.m. Calling the roll for the Monday, July 29th Board of Control meeting. We have Nan Baker, Dale Miller, Joe Nani serving as an alternate for Dan Brady, Mike Chambers serving as an alternate for Mike Dever, Dennis Kennedy serving as an alternate for Armin Budish,
Here.
Lenora Lockett. We have a quorum.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is to review the minutes of the Board of Control meeting of July 22nd. Are there any changes, corrections, or questions related to the minutes from anybody? Seeing none, I will make a motion to approve the minutes. Is there a second? Second by Councilman Miller. All those in favor of approval of the minutes indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The minutes are approved. Is there any public comment for today?
No public comment at this time.
Any tabled items?
Yes. The first table item that we have is item number BC 2019-504, Department of Sustainability. A, submitting an RFP exemption on requisition 45381, which will result in an award recommendation to Cleveland State University in the amount not to exceed $80,000 for microgrid and clean energy development support services. And it's for the period July 1st, 2019 through June 30th, 2020. And B, recommending the award in connection with said RFP exemption.
Mike Foley, Department of Sustainability. So this is for the microgrid project that we've been working on for the last couple years. Cleveland State has been kind of the lead organization helping put the concept of this together. This item was on 3 or 4 weeks ago, and it was tabled until the companion item or contract, which was a contract to Mid-Ow Engineering, was passed through County Council. That was passed through County Council last week. So this is the companion item to that. Mid-Ow will run the RFQ process, but CSU really has been kind of the brains and kind of guts around a lot of the work involved in here, and we really think we need them to help as we fashion this RFQ and RFP and find a developer for the project.
Any questions related to this item? Councilman Miller.
Could you explain a little bit more of exactly what Cleveland State University will do?
So as we develop this, the RFP find the developer, a couple things we want them to do is we want to make sure that there is an economic development fund embedded in the project, I guess, that comes back to the county. CSU's done some kind of initial work on thinking about what a price embedded in that the PPA amount could be, the power purchase agreement amount could be. Second is that there's off-takers needed for this, and so there's going to be real clients who are going to be potential users of the microgrid, and CSU will help us develop that client list or actually begin talking to real potential off-takers. CSU in and of themselves may become an off-taker of this power, so having the Energy Policy Center works for CSU, helping to frame, I guess, for them as a kind of a anchor tenant will be helpful in this. So really thinking about that, as they've been kind of the intellectual folks behind, kind of helping develop the project, to work hand in hand with the technical engineers from Mid-Ow. We think it's important that they're working with us to develop this.
Councilwoman Baker.
Yes, and I appreciate all the work you've put in this and to really bring us up to speed of what microgrids are and the purpose. We have learned that this is this money that we are approving, and I think it was 315, and 200 of it was paid by another source.
Cleveland Foundation.
Cleveland Foundation. And hopefully we may even get some of this back depending on how the RFPs come. But there is no county dollars beyond this. This is all done through other sources. So certainly is interesting to see how this will develop, and we'll be watching it, and I appreciate the work you've put in.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, I will make a motion to approve the item. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Nani. All those in favor of approval indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The item is approved. Thank you.
Next item, BC 2019-541, Department of Human Resources, recommending an award on requisition 45827 and enter into a sole source contract with Jelly Vision Lab, Inc. in the amount not to exceed $132,972 for Alex Virtual Benefits Counselor Software Subscription Services for Cuyahoga County Employee Benefits Open Enrollment. And it's for the period July 22nd, 2019 through October 7th, 2020.
Good morning, Hollywood's Director of HR for Benefits and Compensation. So this contract came forward last week, and we had a lengthy conversation about the product. I think one of the remaining items that we needed some further discussion was on if they were a sole source or not. And so there was a lot of follow-up throughout the week with additional information at this point, requesting that we move forward. It is a one-year contract, and then we will look to go out for an RFP just to look if there's any other similar resources in the future.
Questions?
Just one, thanks for the follow-up information that's provided. If we could get maybe like a monthly report once we go through this, just on usage, so we have a good idea of how the employees are using the product.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
In the I'm sorry, Councilman Miller.
So as to the question of whether they're a sole source or not, what did we end up deciding?
So we discussed the process that we went through, that the county has for sole source, and we did not have any other entities come forward expressing that they could also perform the duties. But what we discussed is in the future, we could do an RFP requesting either employees putting out a full RFP asking if they could provide this service versus just posting it as we currently do, or two, asking entities just to tell us whatever product they could have that may potentially meet our needs.
And Holly, based on the previous conversation we had, you said that this is charged based on the number of eligible employees, correct?
Correct.
Not who uses it.
That's correct.
So I think to Mr. Nani's point, we should probably, if we could get a report that tells us how many people are actually engaging, it'd probably be helpful.
Yes, that's one of the, they have a whole reporting tool there where you can see utilization, and there's a whole reporting structure to it, so that's fine.
Okay,
So
Councilman Miller.
instead of just posting, couldn't there be a process where we kind of ask around and we call some people that we know and ask them, do you know of anybody? And if they give us a couple leads, we contact them and we ask them if they know of anybody, and kind of do a little networking and find out if anything is out there.
Yes, so in the last meeting, what we discussed is we did consult with our benefits consultant, and they were not aware of any other entities that performed this exact service, and we also did research, but we discussed that we could take a step further and just email everybody that does benefits and see if they also have an additional resource just to see what other options are there.
I think I'm fine with this as is, but I think that between now and the next time, we should just kind of beat the bushes and see if anything comes out in terms of other options, so that we can satisfy ourselves that we're taking advantage of any opportunities for competition if they're out there.
Okay, any other questions related to this item? Seeing none, I will make a motion to approve the item. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Nani. All those in favor of approval indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The item is approved.
We're moving on to new items for review. Item BC 2019-549, Department of Public Works, recommending an award on requisition 46019 and enter into a contract with Chagrin Valley Paving, Inc. in the amount not to exceed $496,519 for resurfacing of Spafford Road from Barrett Road to the Olmsted Township East Corporation Line in Olmsted Township in connection with the 2019 Operations Resurfacing Program.
Nicole English with Public Works. We're asking for an award recommendation on a resurfacing project in Olmsted Township, which is a county road in Olmsted Township, which we are responsible for. So it's 100% county road and bridge funds. This is the low bid. They were 11% under the engineer's estimate, and they are meeting the diversity goals.
Okay, any questions on this item? Seeing none, I will make a motion to approve. Is there a second? Second by Councilman Miller. All those in favor of approval indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The item is approved.
Next item, BC 2019-550, Department of Public Works, submitting an amendment, subsidiary number 1, to a contract with Perk Company, Inc. for resurfacing of Cedar Road from South Green Road to Interstate 271 in the cities of Beechwood, Lyndhurst, South Euclid, and University Heights for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $449,071.45.
Nicole English again with Public Works. We're requesting a change order for the Cedar Road resurfacing project. This one's been a bit challenging. It's a $4.5 million job overall. They are working to try to get this done actually a whole season early. They're going to finish it this year instead of next year. They ran into significant problems with the curb when they got out there, and it's mainly a change in condition from the time that they worked on the plans to the time construction started. Dominion East Ohio Gas had been out there, and they did some repairs that then, once we went in, the curbs are crumbling because of it. So we are talking to the cities and looking at what permit they pulled and if there's any way that we can, try to go after Dominion to get any of this back. But in the meantime, we have to finish the project. So $350,000 of this amendment is related to the curb, and then the remainder is mostly just quantities that were underestimated in the plans that would needed to be done either way. They just weren't quantified initially.
Any questions? Councilman Miller.
I was out over the weekend in a couple of events and had to drive through this area.
Sorry.
And, well, I'm going to be positive.
Oh,
And
good,
what
thanks.
I'm going to say is that getting this done a year early will truly be a public service.
Right. Thank you. Yeah, even the contractor realized that they are not charging us to work off times. They think it's safer for their employees and just easier to get things done, mostly in the evenings and nights. And it's just a traffic nightmare out there.
Councilwoman Baker.
Was there a contingency on this that, no?
No, we haven't. We just are now starting to think about putting on our road and bridge jobs contingency. We have not up to this point.
Okay.
So there is nothing for them to use. So this is really all new monies.
I would suggest probably should, and then if you're under budget, that's great. You can put it towards the next budget. Of course, you don't want to overestimate.
Correct. We're looking at not using just a standard percent, taking job by job, and then analyzing what would make sense, if it's resurfacing bridge, different projects that are different levels. So we've been working with the law department on, how to execute that on our projects. And ODOT accepts it. We just haven't done it up to this point,
I
but
think it makes sense.
it would make
Thanks.
sense.
I live in South Euclid, so please hurry.
We're hearing it from everyone. Armin drives it too. We know.
It's, and one question, the original estimate, wasn't the job originally supposed to go to Warrensville? Was that engineer's estimate, did that include it going to Warrensville?
No, it should be the same limits that it always was, Cedar to 271. And where are you
Right,
seeing?
on Cedar, but Cedar, now it cuts off at Green Road. It originally was supposed to
271
go
to
all the way to
Green.
Warrensville.
I don't think this project. Maybe a
It
different
was in
one.
there at the beginning.
Unless we
I
had
got
something
calls from
wrong.
the
Yeah, we
mayor,
can look.
believe me.
It should be the same that Welfare and Convenience stated, that Green to I-271. It is a federal aid job, so it was
Okay.
programmed through NOACA, but I can look.
I know the mayor had contacted me and said, why couldn't they just fix, because there's the same problem on the street from Green to Warrensville as there is from
Right.
Green to the freeway, so.
This is a pretty big one, 4.5 million, so at some point you got to stop. So maybe we'll look and see if we have another one coming.
Okay,
After
good
that.
luck. I pray for it. Any other, Councilman Miller?
Just a comment, I'm going to offer a second opinion. I'm not so sure about including contingencies in the contracts because I think that that not having contingencies results in us getting a lot more information about what changes and problems occurred out in the field and what we have to do to deal with them. And I fear that we might not get as much information if there's contingencies in the contracts.
So we do plan, the way we've been working it out is that we would still come and let you know what they're being used for. And actually in the field and the way we would process them would be the same. They wouldn't be able to just use the contingency. It would have to be justified and we would come through with some approvals. It might just expedite what's happening in the field. But we can work through. We haven't executed them yet. We just started in design telling them we'd like to look at it. So we could work through the process.
Any other questions? Lenore, don't you live in South Euclid too?
Stop piling on.
I don't want to have to recuse myself.
Taking back roads everywhere. All right, I will make a motion to approve the item. Is there a second? Second by Councilman Miller. All those in favor of approval will indicate by saying aye. Any opposed? The item is approved.
Next item, item BC 2019-551, Department of Public Works, submitting an amendment to a contract with Whiting Turner Contracting Company for design build services for the Maintenance Yard Consolidation Project, and it's for the period March 31st, 2018 through December 31st, 2019, to modify the scope of services and the terms effective July 29th, 2019, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $375,000.
Good morning, Matt Reimer, representing the Department of Public Works. As many of you know, this is our construction design build contract with Whiting Turner for the Maintenance Yard Consolidation Project at 2501 Harvard in Newburgh Heights. I had an opportunity to also put some pictures for board members, just so you have context of where we're at with the construction process. It's going along quite well. The Whiting Turner just received their temporary certificate of occupancy, so we're closing in on some final milestones for the major portions of construction there. This amendment does several things. It allows us to add scope to the project where there are funds available from the way Whiting Turner has executed their work within the existing contract value. We're also modifying some of the milestones as a result of adding that scope. It does not change the contract duration, just adds milestones within the current contract duration. And then we are also increasing the contract value by the stated $375,000 to perform the physical security and access control work. That was always planned and budgeted. We're just executing it now through the design builder versus legacy methods of doing that work. And happy to answer any of your questions.
Any questions for Matt? Councilwoman Baker?
Keeping track, is this the last stage of this? Is this last ask, the last effort of getting this done?
It is, Councilwoman. So the scope that we have is we're near that 85% complete of the job. We know what's left in the contract, so we're able to add a lot more things that we weren't able to add when we presented to you in November of last year for the guaranteed maximum price.
Right.
So we're able to do that work, make it a better facility, and then adding this scope through what has been a very excellent performing design builder, it will bring us to the finish line, yes.
Right, that's good to know. Thanks.
Any other questions? Hearing none, I'll make a motion to approve the item. Is there a second? Second by Councilman Miller. All those in favor of approval indicate by saying aye. Any opposed? The item is approved.
Thank you.
Next item, item BC 2019-552, Department of Public Works, recommending an award on requisition 45547 and enter into a contract with McPhillips Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Co., Inc., in the amount not to exceed $202,800 for the Cuyahoga County Board of Elections Building Chiller Replacement Project. And it's for the period August 1st, 2019 through October 30th, 2019.
Good morning again, Matt Reimer with the Department of Public Works. This is a new award recommendation for a capital project at the Board of Elections building at East 30th and Euclid. That building has a failing rooftop chiller that services all the building cooling needs for the entire sixth-floor structure. This was a formal bid. 4 bidders submitted. This is also the second bid. The first bid, we received no bidders. This is the second bid effort, 4 bidders. This is the lowest and best. This bid of $202,800 is $13,200 lower than the engineer's estimate. They had a compliant bid and a compliant submission for diversity goals. They are an SBE prime, reported 3% MBE, and a partial waiver of the WBE portion of the goals was accepted.
Thank you. Are there any questions related to this item? Seeing none, I will make a motion to approve the item. Is there a second? Second by Councilman Miller. All those in favor of approval indicate by saying aye. Any opposed? The item is approved.
Thank you.
Next item, item BC 2019-553, Department of Development, submitting an agreement with the City of Cleveland in the amount not to exceed $2 million for administration of the demolition of vacant, abandoned, nuisance, or blighted structures in connection with Round 9 of the Cuyahoga County Property Demolition Program for the period July 29th, 2019 through December 31st, 2020.
Good morning, Sarah Parks Jackson with the Department of Development. This request is part of our Round 9 demolitions that we are asking approval of. There are 3 other contracts that will be coming before this body for approval in the next month or so. After that's done, then an audit will occur of the demolition program so that we can determine who has balances that they're not going to use, who has contracts that we can now decertify, where money will go back in so that we have a definitive number as to how much is left in the demo fund.
Andrea, in the backup says the City of Cleveland Heights. It's supposed to be Cleveland, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Any questions, Councilwoman Baker?
Only to thank you for anticipating the questions we probably would have asked. Because that really was, wow, that's what's next, how many more, how much money is left? Thank you. Appreciate it.
Sarah's the best. Any other questions? Seeing none, I will make a motion to approve the item. Is there a second? Second by Councilman Miller. All those in favor of approval indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The item is approved.
Thank you.
Next item, BC 2019-554, again, Department of Development, submitting an agreement with the Cuyahoga County Board of Health, and it's in the amount not to exceed $306,250 to determine eligibility, write specifications, and provide inspection services in connection with the lead hazard reduction project. And it's for the period January 1st, 2019 through September 3rd, 2021.
Sarah Parks Jackson again with the Department of Development. This is a revenue generating agreement that the department has with the County Board of Health. The County Board of Health since 2011 has applied to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development for lead-based paint programs that the Health Department administers. They contract with the Department of Development to do the eligibility, which is based on no higher than 80% of the area median income, and right now that is $58,900 for a family of 4 in this area. The Board of Health grant is actually $2.9 million, and the department bills back our services to the Board of Health. But we also provide $28,000 roughly in matching funds that is indicated in their agreement. In addition, we are now working with them on an application that they have to submit in the next week.
Okay, any questions about this agreement? Councilwoman Baker?
So it's interesting, the Cuyahoga County provides this service except for City of Cleveland, because City of Cleveland has its own funding.
That's correct.
So where does most of do you have areas that are more concentrated than other outside of Cleveland?
Yes, we do the inner ring suburbs. So we see East Cleveland, we see Cleveland Heights, Shaker, Maple, most of our entering cities that have that housing stock that's pre-1978.
Good, that's good to know, thanks.
Miller?
The city of Lakewood in my district also has a high percentage of its housing stock 75 to 100 years old, so they also have significant problems.
Any other questions or comments related to this item? Seeing none, I will make a motion to approve the item. Is there a second? Second by Councilman Miller. All those in favor of approval indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The item is approved.
Thank you.
Moving on to item BC 2019-555, Department of Information Technology, submitting an amendment to a contract with Siligent Inc., formerly known as EIQ Networks Inc., for security, intelligence, event monitoring, software maintenance, and support services, and is for the period March 1st, 2014 through July 20th, 2021, to expand the scope of services by adding storage services effective July 22nd, 2019, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $134,000.
Good morning, Dennis Sullivan at the Department of IT. This amendment is the form of a sole source. The affidavit has been notarized and updated and filed with OPD. I have Jeremy Mio with me from the IT Security Department to discuss any questions pertaining to the specific request to both this and your next item.
Questions related to this item? So this is extending it, Jeremy, for 2 years? Is that what we're doing here?
So Jeremy Mio, Information Security Officer for Department of IT. The current contract already goes to 2021. This is amending it for additional storages for IT growth. This was a planned and budgeted amount.
Okay. Any, Mr. Nani?
Did you say it was sole source? I'm sorry. What is the uniqueness of this to make it sole source?
So back in I think 2014, there were specific compliance and proprietary security intelligence that this system offered, and that has been a fixed price until 2021. So at that time, it was a sole source. There collectively, at that time, there were no vendors that offered the collective of security services and products at that time. Going forward, they still have proprietary technology that we use that are integrated into every aspect of the IT systems today. We do plan, however, to go to an RFI next year to see if there are additional security services, and we might have to go with our expansion to multiple security services to do an RFP in 2021.
Councilwoman Baker.
On the backup, there are several questions regarding the ERP system and whether or not there's any connection. Is there?
So our security operations ties all IT systems. So we definitely monitor connected systems if that's ERP or otherwise. And that goes for all agencies within the executive and some agencies outside the executive. So to log on to the ERP system, you have to go through Microsoft, which is that we do monitor. So there are some dependent items that we monitor for ERP for the security, and we also do plan and will tie into the audit logs and the security logs of the ERP system to monitor just like we do the SAP system today.
So the ERP system as it's designed does not have that already built in?
It does. All systems usually have some type of security systems built in individually.
Right.
But since we have so many, we actually collect and centralize that. So it can go to our security operations center and be able to correlate with the other systems. So each system does have its own capabilities, but we just tie into those systems to take them, analyze them centrally, and then be able to see if there are any anomalies county-wide instead of one specific system. Some of the information in ERP is obviously very sensitive, so we'd like to monitor that stuff specifically, as well as some of the other things on the network to be able to correlate those.
Okay. And of course, you're working with those that are working on the ERP to make sure everything is compatible, that they understand what you're doing here, and
Yep.
there's no issues as to.
Yep, a lot of our stuff is based on trying to be more agnostic and be able to tie into any one system. But then the intelligence in the back end is what's the proprietary.
Okay, and there's no duplicating of services. You don't feel that when we have ERP doing its security and you're doing your overall security, you're not overlapping anything?
There are some critical overlaps that are needed, but yeah, we definitely try to streamline and not duplicate anything. And we look through to adding the storage and other types of services to try to streamline that, because there are. That's why we're having an ERP system. There's a lot of duplicate effort on the secure front. We're trying to minimize that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Did this go to the TAC board? Did it get approved?
This is EIQ, or Sigilant is a standard on the IT standards list. So it's been on our standard list for some time. So it is a standard within the TAC policies and procedures.
But if it, I think you said it impacts outside agencies, and isn't there outside agency representation on the TAC board?
There are, and the TAC board collectively agrees on IT standards across county agencies and non-executive agencies, and that's where that is designated.
Okay. Questions? What's that?
I'm curious if the TAC board actually ever meets, but that's for another day.
Yep, TAC board meets every Thursday at 9:30.
Okay, any other questions related to this item? Seeing none, I'll make a motion to approve the item. Is there a second? Second by Councilman Miller. All those in favor of approval indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The item is approved. Thank you.
The next item is a two-part item, item BC 2019-556, Department of Information Technology, A, submitting an RFP exemption on requisition 46220, which will result in an award recommendation to Dell Marketing LP in the amount not to exceed $12,147.71 for the purchase of 9 Microsoft Azure Monetary Commitment subscription licenses, 5 shared server ALNG user subscription licenses, and 10 Microsoft Power BI Pro GCC subscription licenses, and B, recommending the award in connection with said RFP exemption.
Good morning, everybody. Dennis Sullivan again with the Department of IT. The RFP exemption is in the way of the enterprise agreement, as you may all recall, that we have with Microsoft. That's exclusively through Dell Marketing. That EA agreement runs through June 30th of 2020. And again, Jeremy, these are his products. He's here for any questions. Oh, one last thing. If you may recall, one of the big benefits of the EA agreement is that through Microsoft, directly through Dell Marketing, we get automatically, and they're free, the upgrades in the assurance program. That was one of the benefits of the EA award back then.
Any questions on this item? Seeing none, I will make a motion to approve the item. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Nani. All those in favor of approval indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The item is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, item BC 2019-557, Fiscal Office, submitting an amendment to a contract with Stiefel, Nicholas and Company Incorporated for financial advisory services, and is for the period August 1st, 2017 through July 31st, 2019, to extend the time period to July 31st, 2020, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $90,000.
Thank you. I guess I can give the presentation on this on behalf of the Fiscal Office. This is a contract for financial advisory services, which the county has used from a variety of different providers over the years. This extends the current contract with Stiefel for another year till next July. We have Mr. Bob France here from Stiefel in case anybody has any questions. This was an item that probably did not get handled expeditiously because of my absence and the absence of the controller at the same time. So we apologize, but we would normally just go through the procurement process again, but we are on the cusp of a bond deal and don't want to do that without financial advisor services. So Mr. Franz is here to answer any questions. I'd be happy to answer any if anyone has any. Mr. Nani.
I just want to say thanks to Bob. He's very responsive anytime any council staff has questions about pretty complex issues.
He never calls me back.
Oh, really? So, but thank you.
And I would echo that. Bob's been great, and going to need him in the immediate future to close this deal. So if there's no other questions, I will make a motion to approve the item. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Nani. All those in favor of approval indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The item is approved. Thank you.
Next item, item BC 2019-558, Office of Procurement and Diversity, submitting an amendment to a master services agreement with KeyBank National Association for procurement card program services, and is for the period May 1st, 2014 through December 31st, 2019, to expand the scope of services and for additional funds in the total amount not to exceed $15,000 by A, adding the Department of Health and Human Services effective August 2nd, 2019, for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $5,000, and B, for additional funds for the following departments: Division of Children and Family Services in the amount not to exceed $5,000, Cuyahoga Job and Family Services, Office of Child Support in the amount not to exceed $3,000, and the Department of Law in the amount not to exceed $2,000.
Good morning, Lenore Lockett, Office of Procurement and Diversity. As indicated, we're asking for your approval to amend the KeyBank contract to make changes to the P-card program as indicated below on the agenda. These are at the request of the individual departments.
Okay, thank you. Any questions on this item? Seeing none, I will make a motion to approve the item. Is there a second? Second by Councilman Miller. All those in favor of approval indicate by saying aye. Any opposed? The item is approved.
Next item, item BC 2019-559, Department of Health and Human Services, Community Initiatives Division, Family and Children First Council, recommending to amend Board of Control Approval Number BC 2018-933, dated December 17, 2018, which approved an alternate procurement process resulting in award recommendations to various providers for implementation of the Family Centered Services and Supports Wraparound Program, and is for the period July 1st, 2018 through June 30th, 2019, by changing the total amount not to exceed from $407,897 to $461,897.
Good morning, Robin Martin, Family and Children First Council. We bring this request forward asking to add additional funds to our wraparound pool, which helps kids stay in the community in their home with their families. It also assists kids that are stepping down from placement with services, and it covers non-Medicaid services such as respite camp and home adaptations for some of our kids. This year, we had more youth than we've had in previous years with more significant needs. This is a one-time request. We are working with other public systems to help make sure that this does not happen again. We are also anticipating funding in the new state budget to help assist with kids that have these types of needs, because some of these kids, the money prevents custody relinquishments just for services. We became aware that we were getting close to the cap in May and started this process, and we began to put this request through immediately.
Any questions on this item? Seeing none, I will make a motion to approve the item. Is there a second? Second by Councilman Miller. All those in favor of approval indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The item is approved. Thanks, Rob.
Next item, item BC 2019-560, Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Children and Family Services, submitting an amendment to an agreement with the Metro Health System for comprehensive medical services for families involved with the Division of Children and Family Services, and is for the period January 1st, 2019 through December 31st, 2019, for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $200,000.
Good morning, Chris Alexander, Department of Health and Human Services. On behalf of the Division of Children and Family Services, we are seeking to amend a contract with Metro Health for $200,000. This will not change the date of the contract, which is calendar year 2019. Currently, Metro Health provides screening and assessment services for children that are coming into custody of DCFS. They also provide post-placement comprehensive physicals, medication consultation for children and youth that are on psychotropic medications. They also link children that are aging out of foster care to permanent physician within 6 months prior to termination, and they do the county drug testing for parents and caregivers for our children in care. This $200,000, part of this will go to the psychotropic medication consultation services, about $13,000, and the remainder will be for staff and expenses for the screening and assessments. Metro Health this year is adding 2 care navigators to their program and 1 additional nurse practitioner than they had the years before. They've experienced about a 23% increase in service provision from the prior contract year. These funds were allocated, their state child protection funds were allocated in January, and we are adding these funds in addition to the contract in anticipation of utilization of additional services.
Questions? Mr. Nani?
Just one quick, we anticipate this is just going to get us through the end of the year. You don't expect another amendment, do you?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Do we anticipate this getting us through the end of the contract
Yes.
period?
Mhm.
Okay, so we won't like.
Right, this is comparable to what we spent last year.
Understood. Thank you.
Councilman Miller? No question? What happens at the end of the year then?
We've actually issued an RFP, so we are in the process of reviewing the proposal responses. We received 5 responses, 2 from University Hospital, Metro Health to do all of the services, and then we received 3 responses to do just the drug testing. So we're in the review process for a January 1 contract.
So you're on good schedule to
Yep.
make a decision. Okay. Any other question? Councilwoman Baker?
So in reading the dates, if I have the right, sure I'm on the right one, January 1st, 19 to 12/31, so this is 1 year.
Correct. That is a current contract. The $200,000 will be effective when approved. It doesn't change the contract dates.
Okay, and then when you go back out, will you adjust what it is you will go out for, given that you're asking for 200,000 more?
Well, unfortunately, the dollar amounts that are available sometimes change with DCFS because they're awarded late. We had this issue with the Burlington contract earlier this year. So we'll receive a dollar amount from our fiscal office, and hopefully it'll cover the full cost of a year. It may require amendment. These are services that are really hard to predict what the utilization will be. So we give an estimate based on past utilization.
And this funding source is 100% state?
Correct.
Thank you. Thanks.
Any other questions? Seeing none, I'll make a motion to approve the item. Is there a second? Second by Councilman Miller. All those in favor of approval indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Thank you.
Any opposed? The item is approved.
The next item is a 2-part item, item BC 2019-561, Sheriff's Department. A, submitting an RFP exemption on requisition 46094, which will result in an award recommendation to Smith's Detection, Inc., in the amount not to exceed $165,708, and it's for the purchase, installation, and maintenance of 6 high-scan X-ray inspection systems with 19-inch LCD monitors and related accessories for various county buildings, and B, recommending the award in connection with said RFP exemption.
Good morning, Lightly Lathan, Sheriff's Department Fiscal Section. We are requesting an RFP exemption and permission to recommend the award to Smith Detection in an amount not to exceed $165,708, and this will be for the purchase of 6 X-ray inspection systems to go in various buildings. The buildings that I've been advised that they will go into will be Old Brooklyn, the old courthouse, Jane Edna Hunter, Justice Center, Board of Elections, and the Halley Warehouse. And currently we have a maintenance agreement with Smith Detection because we have some of the systems in the buildings already. So we would be able to just add these on once their original maintenance expires.
Are there any questions on this item? Councilwoman Baker.
So we are not going out for an RFP because it would cause additional training on equipment that we're already familiar with?
Utilizing, yeah, and so the officers already, by us having these particular machines already in the buildings, the officers are familiar with them, so that would have cost additional funds for training if we would have went out.
Is there any thought, though, that we could be paying more because we're not at least checking to see what else is out there? And if perhaps the training would be included, which might be very similar to what it is that we're already doing? I mean,
Well, we have 2 physical security officers that go through and advise us what we need, and from what we've been told, and they recommended Smith, that we go with Smith. We were told that they would have been the best, so I don't.
And if I may, this is a contract, what are the dates, or how,
No, this is just a not to exceed.
okay,
We already have a maintenance contract in place for the machines that's already in the buildings. And that current contract is July of 18 through December 31st of 21.
so it's for 6, is that right? 6
Well-
X-ray?
Well, no, the new purchase will be for 6, yes.
Yes, and it includes the purchase, installation, and maintenance.
Right,
Those 6.
yes.
Okay.
Any other questions? Hearing none, I will make a motion to approve the item. Is there a second? Second by Councilman Miller. All those in favor of approval indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The item is approved.
Next item, item BC 2019-562, Sheriff's Department submitting an amendment to an agreement with Board of Park Commissioners of the Cleveland Metropolitan Park District for inmate housing services. And it's for the period September 4th, 2018 through November 30th, 2018, to extend the time period to December 31st, 2019, to change the terms effective July 1st, 2019, and for additional revenue in the amount not to exceed $36,000. Also recommending to ratify and confirm the terms and conditions of said agreement.
Hi, Lauren Harwell from the Sheriff's Department Corrections Center, presenting a revenue-generating contract, another one, hopefully the last one, for Metro Parks to continue to accept their prisoners.
Questions? Mr. Miller?
Not a question, just a statement. I'm going to say the same thing about this one that I said about the last two, which is that I'm not going to vote against it because I don't want to leave the Metro Parks District suddenly in the lurch without a way to take care of their prisoners. But for the longer term, we need to have a comprehensive plan in place as to how we're going to handle prisoners for other people, and when we're several hundred overrated capacity in the jail facilities. If we're going to do this, we got to figure out how to operate this entire system within the numbers that these facilities are designed for, and unless we come up with a comprehensive plan to do so relatively soon, I'm not inclined to vote for any further extensions, but I'm voting for this today for purpose of continuity. Thank you.
Councilwoman Baker?
Yes, I agree with that. Just a question on the dates, though, and I do understand the explanation of, or at least I'm reading the explanation of why it's late. But between November 30th of 2018 and today, which is about 7 or 8 months, how have you haven't needed any funding? I mean, we are continuing a contract that has already ended. So how are you able to, it's just an unusual circumstance that you needed to come back for 36,000 more?
No, that we're just amending it. It was like close to 36 last year. The last one was like 35.8, I believe. And so they just rounded the number up to 36 to cover for the rest of this year. We don't accept many of their prisoners. For this month alone, we have, currently in custody, we have 4 of their inmates. So we're nowhere near the not to exceed amount.
Okay, so the funding that ended at the end of November of 18, you have not needed any funding between then and now? Because,
Well, yes, because we've accepted their prisoners, but we haven't billed them. So according to our fiscal office, they haven't even received a list of inmates to bill yet. But I pulled the numbers today, and we currently have 4. So I'm assuming she's going to at some point need to bill them for those 4 inmates.
okay, so these are services that have been provided over the last 7 or 8 months, and we have not collected for those services yet, and that's why you're asking for this 36.
Correct.
And if I may, and you're not anticipating any more after this 4, did you say, or you just don't know?
After this contract, in terms of revenue generating regionalization contracts, no. We had 2 left, one for Richmond Heights and one for Metro Police that have been put on hold right now. And those would have been the same as the prior ones that I've been up here for. They would go through December 31st of this year. But currently they are on hold, and I haven't heard back yet as to whether or not I need to present them or not.
But as I think the question was asked, this 36,000, you will not need to exceed it, and you probably won't even spend most of it?
Correct.
I hear. Okay.
Any other questions related to this? Seeing none, I'll make a motion to approve the item. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Nani. All those in favor of approval indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The item is approved. Thank you.
We're moving on to exemptions. Item number BC 2019-563, Department of Public Works recommending an alternate procurement process on requisition 46320, which will result in a participation agreement with the City of Brecksville Purchasing Consortium in the amount not to exceed $49,500 and is for the purchase of sodium chloride rock salt for the period November 1st, 2019 through October 31st, 2020.
Good morning, Tom Pavich, Public Works. This item, we're just requesting approval to participate in the Brecksville Purchasing Consortium. It's for the purchase of the 2019-2020 rock salt program. Public Works, we've been doing this for a number of years to increase our buying power. It's going to result in a not to exceed department order for $49,500. That'll come at a later date. The dates of this purchasing group is November 1st of 19 to October 31st of 2020.
Thank you. Any questions related to this? Councilwoman Baker.
Not a great topic.
No.
For the winter.
No.
The City of Brecksville Purchasing Consortium, how does the City of Brecksville, do you have any background as to how they became the city that we all buy from?
This predates me, so I'll turn to Mike. We've been doing it for many years.
I know, I've heard this before.
We used to go out and bid on our own.
Right.
At one time, we used to buy for the township. We no
Right.
longer do that, so we only spend, what we spend in a year in salt, most people do in one snowstorm. So for us to go on our own, we would not have gotten a good price. We don't utilize state contract anymore because for the last couple of years, this consortium actually beat the price. But more so than that, the price is that we're guaranteed delivery within a certain time. We're under state term. I've got to wait for ODOT to get all their salt, and we're kind of low on the totem pole. So this consortium has to deal with Cargill where we do get priority delivery.
Okay, that's interesting.
Just to give you an idea, our minimum with this program is only, I think, 320 tons. Lakewood is 2,800, Beechwood is 6,400. So it just paints a picture that we're low man on a totem pole. And I believe even with the ODOT last year, there were some cities waiting 3.5 weeks to get salt delivered. So this consortium cuts that. I think our delivery is 24 to 48 hours.
When salt's needed and snow's falling, right?
Yes.
It's unacceptable at the time.
Yep.
Any other questions on this item? Seeing none, I'll make a motion to approve the item. Is there a second? Second by Councilwoman Baker. All those in favor of approval indicate by saying aye. Any opposed? The item is approved.
Thank you.
Next item, BC 2019-564, Sheriff's Department, requesting an alternate procurement process which will result in an award recommendations to various providers in the total amount not to exceed $150,000 for various equipment repairs in the jail facilities, and is for the period July 29th, 2019 through December 31st, 2020, for the following providers: A, Astral Supply in the amount of $10,000, B, Belinky Inc. in the amount of $13,000, C, Cleveland Communications, Inc., in the amount of $35,000, D, Don Chem, Inc., in the amount of $7,000, E, General Parts, LLC, in the amount of $60,000, and F, Soundcom, in the amount of $25,000.
Good morning, Stephen Witt with the Sheriff's Department Fiscal Agency. This alternate procurement will allow the jail staff to have the ability to contract, contact these 6 vendors for service calls and repairs in the jail that are needed on an emergency basis or to maintain current jail operations. Some of these include kitchen appliances, wristband machines, floor scrubbers, radios, ventilation fans, washers and dryers, etc. Normally, these repairs are typically under $1,000 each, but the aggregate over the course of the year exceeds the purchasing thresholds of $5,000 for many of these vendors. So by doing this alternate procurement, it will allow us to have these repairs done quickly, expeditiously, without having to go through the normal procurement process, which, as we know, can take a few weeks when things like the kitchen ovens go down and they need those repaired immediately.
So this is basically blanket purchase orders for these vendors.
What we are hoping to do with this alternate procurement is we will still, after we are invoiced, we will still go through the buy speed process with OPD and ensure that all the documents for these vendors are there, everything's correct, but we will not need to come back before the board to ask for approval for these, as they will already have been paid for and repaired.
Okay, Lenore?
Lenore Lockett, Office of Procurement and Diversity. Currently, we have time-sensitive, mission-critical, and also with the new county ordinance, purchases under $50,000 do not have to come to the board. So I just need further details on the distinction of, I know it's over 1,000, so you're saying multiple awards. I understand that part with the office voucher. But like, for instance, Astro, and it's only one of these vendors that's over 50. That one would, if you didn't get the alternate procurement, would require coming to the Board of Control. That we couldn't do an informal process, like the hourly rates, or come up with a award that way.
We initially attempted to do an informal process for not to exceed through the end of the year. Unfortunately, we don't have any tangible items to bid because this is preparing for repairs that are unexpected. So while we went out for informal, we received these 6 vendors, we received their hourly rates, but we had nothing further to go off of. So instead, we looked into conducting this alternate procurement, which will carry us through the end of next year. And for reference, General Parts, who handles our kitchen repairs, so far this year has already gone through a $25,000 not to exceed department order for repairs of ovens and the equipment in the kitchen. So we average about $50,000 in repairs a year for these unexpected repairs. We do expect a surge specifically for kitchen repairs before the full service vendor will come in and take over the kitchen, as I believe they will expect a full service kitchen that's everything's operational. But after that full service vendor takes effect, we don't expect General Parts to be receiving that amount for repairs of the kitchen, as the vendor will take over managing that. To answer your question, Lenore, what they're hoping is that we are able to just run out and get these repairs done. Typically, we ask Public Works to look at it first. If Public Works is unable to repair it, they want to be able to go out and get it.
So my only suggestion would be for the next time that we could still do an informal, but you make the selection based on, like you said, the hourly rate. If they have a 24 after hour surge charge as a comparison, to have these vendors on emergency repair services, but at least we could do it.
We certainly will look into establishing a contract with these vendors, but we need something in place to cover us right now.
Mr. Chambers.
Are these just going to be DOs and POs, or are you just going to do the encumbrance?
These will be processed as department orders through buy speed.
Okay. All right.
The other, Councilwoman Baker?
And of course, all of this equipment's been looked at to determine whether or not it is repairable and perhaps
They
replaced.
make that determination as they go through the repair. If the repair is going to get close to the cost of just replacing it, they rather look into replacing it to cut down these repairs. We are currently working on establishing a list of what equipment we have and what warranties and service agreements cover those.
On the existing
on
equipment?
the existing equipment in the jail.
Okay, so that's being analyzed, the equipment
We're-
that we
we are-
have now?
We are currently working on that right now.
Okay.
Just one question for me. I mean, I understand about the repairs to the kitchen and those types of things, but the Cleveland Communications, those are radios, right? Those for purchasing or maintenance?
No, they repair the radios and the radio equipment fairly often. The individual radios, there's several $1,000 radios that they're getting used 24/7, 7 days a week for 365 days a year. They break. Cleveland Communications comes out and collects them and takes them back and repairs them. And in the event that we have limited stocks of additional radios to cover those gaps. So if the radios go down, they need to get them repaired quickly.
But that's something we should probably just bid out every year, right? I mean, is that what you're shooting for? Everybody, I mean, every police department has radios and whatever, and you bid it out. There's a number of companies that.
The radios are a little bit more difficult because they are programmed and encrypted and everything on our network. And I believe Cleveland Communications handles most of that for us, so they're familiar with the equipment that we have. But we can certainly look into.
Maybe we can talk about that.
Yeah, we can certainly look into that.
Any questions? Seeing none, I'll make a motion to approve the item. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Nani. All those in favor of approval indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The item is approved. Thank you. Now we go to the consent agenda.
Yes, we are now moving on to the consent agenda, item numbers BC 2019-565 through 568.
If everybody will take a moment to review the items Andrea referred to on the consent agenda. Are there any questions for any items on the consent agenda? Seeing none, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by the consent agenda is approved. Any other business?
No other business at this time?
Any other public comment?
No public comment?
Seeing as there's no other business, I will make a motion to adjourn. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Chambers. All those in favor of approval indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The meeting is adjourned. Thank you.